Today, I'm going to be showing you how to make Starboy CEO style music in Ableton. I've got this full template, all the Ableton files, samples, MIDI, presets, all that's at the top of the description on my website. It's a really great template, so make sure to grab it, and let's get started. Alright, so we're at 155 BPM. First thing we have here is our bass. So we're in A major here. It's kind of between A major and C sharp minor, right? And what we're doing is we're starting on the root, right? That major root note. And then we actually technically go up, right? Like that. But then because you have that third and octave down, it kind of has like a deeper, you know, more new wave kind of thing there. And then it goes up. It's basically this very triumphant progression. And then it goes back to this, which resolves really nicely back to the 1. Right? So it's kind of like, this really tells a story with this chord progression, but it's a very simple one if you know this A major scale. For the actual sound on here, what we're doing is we got 2 layers, so I'll actually just turn off the effects, and I'm going to turn off the group processing for now as well, because there's some stuff on this group. So what we're doing is we're starting with these 2 layers of drift, this one, and then this one. Now if you notice, they're the same thing. It's just 2 saw waves with the shape up a little bit. However, on the second one, the low pass filter is open a little bit more. On the first one, you can see it's a bit more closed. And then the first one also has unison. So we're basically doing this unison with just 4 voices. It's not the biggest, but it's got a nice texture to it. And then they're layered together where the second one doesn't have unison. So you kind of get the fullness from this and the fatness from this, right? So then I got that whole little group there going into this chorus. Just a little bit of width and kind of like just juiciness. We got this side chain to the kick pretty heavily, and I have an EQ here because I wanted to boost a little bit of bass and some mids too, which also works together with this group stuff that I'll show you in a bit. So that's just straight out of that. Then plus the group processing, it kind of becomes the full sound. Right, so it kind of becomes a bit heavier because of what's happening on the group, and we'll talk more about that in a second. Then we got our drums. So, it's really simple. It's just 3 layers. It's just like the most obvious ones. But by doing this and not having so many like little hi-hats and loops and shakers and stuff, you can just turn this up a lot louder, right? Like these beats are just pounding really like in your face, and because there's not so much going on, it's just the main layers that you need. They can really sit on top of the mix. So I'm going to turn off the group processing for these as well now that you've heard it. Here's just the kick. It's like this 909 type of kick. I've pitched it up +1. I've also got this thing here where I brought down the sustain a little bit. Right, so it just makes the transient of the kick a lot harder. But you still get the body, it's just like literally essentially making that transient louder. Some drum bus, which is going pretty hard. I've got it on the medium setting, and you can see I brought the transients up. Right, just really pushes that. We get this little hi-hat. Almost like a live hi-hat, right? But it's just really, really smacks through. Like these drums just need to like really smack. Right, so this has a very good energy for that. You can see I also got rid of that little thing at the start there and just dragged it right to where the hit is. And then the clap. So what it is it's this clap. Right, and you can see I pitched it down a little bit. I made it really short. And there's this redux. Here's without it. With. You can hear it's super subtle, but it adds more of like a to it. Instead of having it just be like that mid-rangey kind of clap, it gives you that more like video game kind of sound, right? Almost like a bit more noisy. I've also high passed this a little bit. And then we get to the group processing. So you hear this does a lot. There's a little bit of reverb on the group because I noticed these drums and the bass, like in a lot of these tracks, do tend to have a little bit of reverb, and it gives it that more warehousey kind of techno thing. The secret here is it's very little reverb that goes a long way. Like I've got a lot of the highs cut out. It's really, it's like no size. The decay is super short. There's a little pre-delay too, so it kind of bounces off like that. And then the dry wet's really low, but you don't need that much. It does a lot. Then it goes into the saturator, which is on medium curve, and I brought the drive up a little bit. Now this is more than just pushing these. Obviously it does push these a lot. It also does a really good job of like making the drums kind of come together and sound like they fit together really well. Right? Like it kind of glues stuff. And then also with that bass, that's why the bass is in the group with that stuff, is because it kind of like just really glues this all. You can see with the bass too, like when we go back to that EQ, that's why I'm boosting the lows and the mids. Because it causes that to push up against the saturator even more. Like if I get rid of the EQ. See how when I bring it in, it just makes that saturation go even harder. And then finally I got this bass mono just because like there's a bit of reverb. There's like the bass has some stereo stuff. So yeah, just kind of keeping it clean. Then we got the lead. So yeah, it's pretty simple. Like if you look at this, it's all A major scale, but it's playing with the major 7th a lot, that G sharp, so it gets very melancholic against the bass line. And you can see it's really not that many notes from the scale. There's only 3 notes from the scale here that are being used. But it's not the most conventional ones. It's not just like root, 3rd, 5th. It's like major 7th, 3rd, 4th, or 6th. It's really simple, and it's just this continuous arp where these are just do 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 do. Now the other thing here is that some of the notes glide and some don't, and that's also creating a lot of cool stuff in this. Right, and it's like strategically selecting certain notes to glide and not all of them, so you really hear it, and it kind of gives it different textures on different notes. Plus there's like this, like having that 1/16 note in there, you know, just makes it kind of like that one freaky note in the whole pattern that, yeah, I think really brings it to life. Then we got, as far as the sound goes, I'm going to turn off all the effects. It sounds like this just coming out of the synth. So this sound is a pretty basic square wave. That's really all it is. And that's all we really got here is just a square wave, you know, and we got the amp envelope like that, a little bit punchy. The important thing here is put it on monophonic mode, the legato, and the glide, and then just making the right amount of glide. Like if it's too much, you know, it's a little too like future bass. If it's too little, then you don't hear it. So just putting it in that right spot, which really depends on your BPM, right? You just have to have like the track and have some drums and hear it with that, and you'll be able to know like how to set that, right? It's very much case by case. The other really important thing for this lead, obviously this is not that Starboy lead, right? It's the redux. Particularly bringing the rate down, not super low, but low enough. And then the bits here, it's really good. And you can even go a little lower on that. You know, it really makes it fight to come through, and you get this cool old video game, vintage, textured kind of lead. That is the sound. It's a square wave getting super bit crushed. And then, yeah, the rate is also important. You know, if you bring it too low like that, it kind of isn't the sound anymore. It's like, careful rate, and then play with the bits. I even brought the shape up, too. Yeah, this can be cool without that though. You can see like when it's kind of fighting to come through. So just playing around with bit crushing on the square, that's really that sound. A bit of chorus. And a really fast reverb, so it has some room to it and some width, but it's not just like ambient, you know, it's not like... That's not really what you want. I noticed this music is very dry, and there is stereo width, and there is like room, but there isn't hall, you know what I'm saying? We've got a bit of sidechain. And then a high pass filter. Now, the last really important thing to talk about here is master processing, because I don't think you really get the sound on that CEO tape is master, like I think in his case probably using FL Studio and using like Fruity Soft Clipper or something like that. And you really don't get this sound without some kind of master saturation. If I turn this stuff off, you know, it's really not it. Like, it is MIDI wise and musically, but it's just not got that same like visceral. So we're using the saturator, the same one you saw on the kick and bass. This medium curve setting is really good for this kind of stuff because it's not too hard, but then if you want it to be, right, you can push it there. I've got the soft clip on there, so it basically just keeps it from clipping, right? But it kind of like... Yeah, I brought the output down a tiny bit. And then there's just a limiter, which you can even boost the input gain if you want to. As you can see, at a certain point, it doesn't really do much. But yeah, I think this master saturation is very important. Like, again, without it... with it. And it's not just to make everything sound distorted, but saturation makes everything glued together, as you can hear. And like when it's all going into the same harmonic content like that, it gives it a lot more of like a cohesive sound. And it's just, yeah, that really visceral kind of raw energy on this tape is coming from this. And that's how you do it. So that is how you make that CEO kind of sound. Thanks for the support, guys. Make sure to like this video as well as subscribe if you haven't already. Definitely check out this template at the top of the description. You can get everything right there to go ahead and make a track like this instantly. It'll really help you out in your productions so you can get going quickly. Thanks for the support, everybody, and I will see you tomorrow with another video.